Imagine every state border in America becomes a front line. 50 states, no alliances, no federal government, every state for itself. Most videos answer this question by counting soldiers and military bases. They're answering the wrong question. Because a war like this wouldn't be decided by armies. It would be decided by 3 maps: water, calories, and kilowatts. And when you lay those 3 maps on top of each other, only one state survives on all 3. Here's the uncomfortable part. Your state is probably already dead, and you'll know within the first 30 days. The first casualties aren't decided by combat. They're decided by grocery trucks. The average American city holds about 3 days of food on its shelves. Everything after that arrives by interstate. And in this scenario, every interstate now crosses a hostile border. That math executes the Northeast almost immediately. New York has nearly 20 million people, world-class finance, and almost no food, fuel, or farmland of its own. Money is worthless when no one will sell to you. New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, the densest states in the country are also the most import-dependent. They don't lose the war, they starve out of it. Florida looks safer, 23 million people behind a single land border. A peninsula is easy to defend. It's also easy to blockade. Florida grows oranges and winter vegetables, but it runs on imported fuel and imported everything else. A fortress with no pantry is just a very large waiting room, and the same logic dooms most big cities everywhere. In a 50-state war, a skyline isn't an asset. It's a siege waiting to happen. The states still standing after month 1 are the ones that can feed, fuel, and water themselves, which brings us to the 3 maps. Map 1 is water, and it has a king nobody expects: Colorado. The Colorado River starts in its mountains, and 40 million people downstream depend on it. Arizona, Nevada, and Southern California live at the end of a pipe that another state can now shut off. Las Vegas draws 90% of its water from one reservoir fed by that river. Phoenix sits in a desert. In this scenario, Colorado doesn't need to invade the Southwest. It closes a valve and waits. In the east, there's a second water weapon: the Mississippi. Whoever holds the mouth of that river controls the export route for the entire interior of the continent, and the mouth belongs to Louisiana. Suddenly, one of the poorest states in the Union is collecting tolls on everyone's grain. And then there's the quiet giant: Michigan. 2 peninsulas surrounded by the Great Lakes, a fifth of all the fresh surface water on Earth. While the Southwest fights over a shrinking river, Michigan is bordered on 3 sides by more water than it could use in 1,000 years. Behind moats, no tank can cross. Water doesn't win you the war, but it decides who's even allowed to keep playing. Map 2 is calories, and here's the cruel twist of the breadbasket. Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas grow the calories that feed the continent: corn, wheat, beef. On paper, that makes them powerful. In practice, it makes them the prize. Flat, open terrain, small populations, borders with no natural defenses in any direction. The Midwest is the most valuable territory on the map and the least defensible. These states don't get to win the war. They get fought over, the way Ukraine's wheat fields have been fought over for a century. California complicates the map. The Central Valley grows 1/3 of America's vegetables and most of its fruit and nuts. But every one of those fields drinks irrigation water that the war just put in question, the richest farmland in the country, and its faucet is a hostage. In a 50-state war, growing the food and keeping the food are 2 very different problems. Map 3 is energy, and this one has a hierarchy. Pennsylvania sits on the Marcellus Shale, one of the largest natural gas fields on Earth. Wyoming digs more coal than the next several states combined, with barely 500,000 people to power. The energy map has plenty of regional winners. But 2 players break the scale. In the Northwest, the Columbia River. Its dams generate more hydroelectricity than any river system in America. Clean, renewable, and impossible to embargo because the fuel is gravity and snowmelt. Washington doesn't just keep its lights on, it has power to spare, forever. And in the South, Texas, nearly 1/3 of America's refining capacity. First in oil, first in natural gas, first in wind. deepwater ports on the Gulf, a top 5 food producer with the second largest population in the country. Then, the detail that decides everything. Texas is the only state with its own independent power grid. The other 49 share 2 giant interconnected systems that stop working the moment state lines become front lines. Texas never joined. The day the war starts, 49 states discover their electricity has foreign policy. Texas just keeps the lights on. So lay the 3 maps on top of each other. 3 states are left standing. California is the giant, the world's 4th largest economy, the Central Valley, the ports of LA and Long Beach. But Southern California drinks from the Colorado River, and the state imports roughly a quarter of its electricity. The 2 things you cannot stockpile, water and power, both arrive from outside. California enters the war as a giant on an IV drip. Washington is the dark horse, Columbia River power, serious agriculture east of the Cascades, Pacific ports, and mountain walls on its flanks. It survives on all 3 maps, but with 8 million people, it wins by being left alone, not by mattering. A fortress, not a victor. Texas is the only state that shows up self-sufficient on all 3 maps at scale. Its own fuel, its own food, its own grid, its own ports, and 30 million people behind it. Its one real weakness is geography's oldest joke. The borders are long and mostly flat. But you don't need walls when every neighbor needs your refineries more than they need your land. That's the verdict. Not because Texas would fight best, because Texas needs the other 49 least. But here's what actually happens next. Nothing. Nobody conquers the continent. Texas can't hold the Rockies. Washington can't feed an empire. Colorado can't leave its mountains. The war doesn't end with a winner on a map. It ends in fortress stalemate, a continent of besieged islands, with the self-sufficient states simply outlasting everyone else. And that's the real answer to the question. This war was never going to be decided by anything that happens after it starts. The Rocky Mountain snowpack decided it. The path of a river decided it. A grid map drawn decades ago decided it. Every state's fate was locked in before a single shot. By geography, nobody alive chose. Texas doesn't win because it's tough. It wins because it never fully plugged into everyone else. And in a war of all against all, the winner is whoever needs the others least. So, how long does your state last? Be honest. Drop your survival plan in the comments. Wrong answers welcome. And subscribe to GeoFlow, because the map has already made more decisions about your life than you think.